But
Shut up.
Well, because
What?
my own personal theory of why this happens is because like when you use the 360 as a lead platform, it's very like I don't program, but I'm pretty sure it's a very basic standard. Your CPU does this, your graphics does this, and they'll run very it's very simple, but it's very basic. And if you program for the PS3, I've heard is that the RSX is actually less powerful than the 360, but where you get the great graphics is from the cell processor. But to program for the cell processor well, you have to really work at it and make it work. That's why our first-party Sony games are probably going to look better than first-party 360 games.
Yeah.
But they have to work a lot harder to get that.
Well, I've had this argument with somebody else in the past, and we were talking about next-gen gaming systems in between it was more specifically between the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, and I was basically arguing that although the PS3 is reported to be that much more powerful and being able to do a lot more things at one time, whether it be physics or graphics or lighting or shading and pixels.
The physics is the big thing, apparently.
Now, but what I was saying was, how many third-party developers are going to take the time and money to optimize it,
especially when it's that expensive and the user base isn't there right now?
That's exactly it. And in this particular case, it was very specific to graphics, and they were talking about how the graphics capabilities of the PS3 are, in his opinion, far surpass the Xbox 360. And I was saying, if you've got a game that's coming out on multiple platforms, do you think they're going to spend that much more money to optimize it for one console over the other?
Yeah, right now I think 360 has an advantage just because it's simple. I think maybe 4 years down the road or something, when they're both at the end of their console cycles and they're announcing the PlayStation 4 and all this stuff, then the PS3 will probably pull ahead.
Well, if you
start to look better.
If you believe
I think
Harrison and the boys, you better be in for a 10-year wait for the next PlayStation.
I don't believe that. I believe what they mean by a 10-year plan is the same thing they have with the PS2 and the PS1, which is they'll release new hardware after 5 or 6 years, but they'll continue making games for it for the next 3 or 4 after that. I think it's probably more like 8.
Okay,
well, they're releasing like PS1 games in 2005. They were crap, but I think Madden came out until I think Madden 05 was on PS1, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. As far as I know.
That was totally like a team of interns making that game.
Probably, yeah. It was probably some schlep janitorial staff.
It's just learning how to change the names on the back of the uniforms.
Yeah, it hasn't changed much over the last few years.
Well, I'm sure the PlayStation 1 version hasn't changed much.
Okay, let's get off our PlayStation rant and get back to we went off on a bit of a tirade there with the whole EA stuff. Or not EA stuff, but with the E3 stuff. There's going to be a flood of news regarding everything from...
Yeah, that's going to be a long podcast, the one after E3.
Yeah. Well, and watch the site for updates and stuff. We'll be posting videos and anything that's relevant to, what we think is kind of cool. I mean, I don't know. I don't think anybody will be...
Probably not going to be much major FTA news during E3, but...
No, and I don't think they're going to tell us how to, defeat their firmware and things like that. Yeah, here's the glaring flaw in our firmware. Please exploit it. But we'll talk about some PSP or some PC stuff. Again, no major advancements in the way of PC technology or anything like that. But on the forums, we have sort of given a big FU to the boys at Microsoft, and that is, of course, with the Halo 2 release the Vista Halo 2 release. As well as Shadowrun, which is a Vista-only game. Both games are Vista-only.
Yeah.
And they've been marketed that way. You've heard through and through that these games will only play on Vista. This is not true.
Well,
some programmers...
I know they programmed it, but they're supposed to only run on Vista. But
that's exactly it. But Microsoft was saying over and over again, I mean, they were saying flat out that these games would not run on XP.
Well, you knew they were full of... If it ran on the original Xbox, come on. You can't seriously believe that Halo 2 wouldn't run on an XP PC.
Well, no. I mean, I don't think that there's anybody doubted that the firmware or the hardware wouldn't play it, but I mean, it's just because of the operating system itself. Well, and more specifically, I don't know whether this has to do with... Again, it's a programming issue, and with DirectX 10 and things like that. Now, granted, DirectX 10 isn't out yet.
That's out. I think it is. I'm pretty sure.
Officially, or is it just still the beta releases of it?
I'm pretty sure that There's a DirectX 10 version of Company Heroes out right now.
Oh, really?
Like
Okay.
you can download an update for it, and there's like a couple extra rocks.
Well, either way, anybody that was interested in taking a look at Shadowrun or Halo 2 on PC but wasn't running Vista,
All three of you.
yeah, you can. Well, Shadowrun, I don't know, looked interesting. I
Well,
wanted to try it out.
Once you
know.
get into news of your crack here, I'll break it down as to why that still wouldn't be worth buying.
Well,
Shadowrun.
there you go. You let the cat out of the bag. On the forums, there has been posted the cracks for both Halo 2 and Shadowrun, so that you can run them on XP. Now, what were you going to say?
Issue being that you cannot play these online. So Halo 2, it's still kind of, if you want to play Halo 2 single player.
Shadowrun, you can play bots, can't you?
You can play bots and you can play LAN, but why would you pay $50 to play Shadowrun with bots? Why would you pay? Like you wouldn't.
Okay.
You probably wouldn't pay $50 to play Shadowrun. Period.
Look at me, Jordan.
What?
Do I look like I would pay $50 to play Shadowrun?
You wouldn't pay $50 to play anything.
I
They could be
might.
like, hey, we got Halo 3 right now for your 360. Pay $60, and you'd be like, no, I don't want to pay for a game.
No, I mean anybody that wants to play it on a LAN, or if you have another version, if you have a version and you want to play it on a network or
A version with air quotes.
yeah,
You might not have the actual disc, but
exactly. So no, that's about all that's been going on in PC news. Of course, anything that comes out, anything interesting, we'll post up on them. Jordan looks just bedazzled. He's watching my son play Spider-Man 3 on 360
I
right
own
now.
that
I looked
game,
over
but
and he's got this glossy look in his eye, like oh yeah, he's got this look like, boy, I could show that 4-year-old kid how to play this game. I could school him in this.
I did not have that look.
Let's talk about. I'm going to skip over PS3 and go right to PSP. We'll come back to PS3.
I don't know if there's any PS3 news anyway.
Yeah, I don't think there is.
Oh, I remember something.
What did you remember?
I should go joystick because I remember seeing the picture of a PS. Oh, okay, I remember now. It's not important. It's like some companies like looking at how many people look at ads on the PlayStation 3 stuff. I don't care.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Yeah.
It was one of those news articles where you read the headline, not interested, next.
Yeah, not a whole lot going on with PS3 right now either.
Well, and Sega said, I'm getting really sick of these stories on Joystick and Kotaku and all that stuff where everyone's like, this guy from this company said that the PlayStation 3 needs to lower their price. And it's like, do you really need a new headline every day about that? Like, it's obvious, but they can't do anything right now. They're going to wait until at least E3 or until after. So quit putting stories about common sense.
Pre-E3 is kind of redundant because
Well, like,
any news or announcements are going to come at E3.
Yeah, it's annoying because everyone's just like,
Yeah.
this guy thinks the PS3 should lower their price. It's like, yeah, you know what? Everybody in Sony knows that exact same thing, but they can't do anything about it right now because it's too close to launch.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't make any sense.
Exactly.
So
we're going to skip over PS3 and we're going to go to PSP. Firmware 3.51 is out shortly after.
yeah,
This was
reasons.
like back to back. The 3.5 downgrader came out. For any of you that wanted to upgrade to the 3.5, so the OEA software came out, allowing you to still play homebrew games and applications and things like that on your PSP, while giving you the functionality as well of the 3.5.
Came out surprisingly quick considering it just came out and they're like, oh, we cracked it, and usually it takes a little while.
It was 2 days.
Yeah.
It was literally. Well, I almost think
the only
Sony
thing
had
is, like,
had these